We're going to get to the good news eventually, trust, I always do. But I am here to tell you today that the parents are not all right. Now, the work of parenting, we know, is essential not only for the health of the children, but also for the health of society. In August of 2024, the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, issued an advisory on the mental health and well-being of parents. I don't know if any of you caught that, but this Surgeon General has been preaching to me for many years at this point, and I'm very grateful for the work of his career. And if you do get the chance to read the report, I hope you will. It begins with beautiful expression of gratitude to the parents of all the researchers who worked on this report. Now, Dr. Murthy writes, as technological and economic forces have reshaped the world at a dizzying pace, it has also become harder for parents to prepare children for a future that is difficult to understand or predict. It will also require all of us, if we are to imagine supporting parents in new ways, to rethink cultural norms around parenting. And part of that will involve shifting how we value parenting in our society. Now, the work of raising a child, our Surgeon General writes, is work no less valuable than the work performed in a paid job and of extraordinary value when it comes to the impact on our society and its future. And additionally, while parents and caregivers bear the primary responsibility for raising children, society as a whole must see itself as sharing in this responsibility, shaping policy, programs, and individual behavior accordingly. Finally, our cultural norms, the Surgeon General writes, must also support us talking more openly about the challenges that parents face and building more community for parents whose disproportionately high levels of loneliness compound the day-to-day challenges they face. The Surgeon General also writes this: raising children is sacred work. It should matter to all of us, and the health and well-being of those who are caring for our children should matter to us as well. Now, I'm hopeful that this Surgeon General's advisory will help catalyze and support the changes we need across society to ensure all parents and caregivers can thrive. And I'm going to now lay out just a fraction of some of the issues that parents are facing today, which are also connected to the issues that parents have always faced in our society, but are kind of becoming even more powerful, more serious. Financial stress. For example, in the last decade, childcare prices have grown by approximately 26% across the US and more in certain communities. And further, 1 in 4 United States parents said there have been times in the past year, just this past year, where they did not have enough money for basic needs. Now, I remember back in the 80s or maybe 90s making about $6 an hour babysitting as a teenager. Now, in 2024, as a parent, I cannot find a sitter for under $20 an hour, which definitely changes the possibilities for a night out or time away. And the system seems rigged against financial thriving for parents. I mean, elementary school ends at 2:15 p.m., but the workday still ends at 5. Therefore, parents must find costly daily childcare for their kids for 3 hours per day. And a summer of day camp these days in 2024 costs anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 each summer for 2 children. In addition to the financial crisis, there's increased work demands and work hours. The average employment work hours for parents have increased over time, with parents now dedicating an increased 28% of work hours for mothers and 4% for fathers since the 80s. And in the US, nearly 1 in 5 children have a special health care need. That's a term that includes those who are at risk for a chronic physical, developmental, behavioral, or emotional condition and need health services beyond that which is generally provided. And I don't have to tell you about some of the fears that parents face today. The fact that firearm-related injury has become the leading cause of death among children in the United States. School safety concerns among parents are higher than they have ever been and rise after a prominent mass shooting, knowing that the possibility of another one is a significant source of stress for 74% of the parents who were surveyed by this study. What did we think parenting would be like, you may be asking? Now, when I think about what I thought it would be like, I thought it would be like it was when I was a child. In the 80s or 90s, when we would walk to school in our hand-me-down clothes with a group of older kids, then we would just play outside all day on the cul-de-sac until the streetlights turned on. This is not, this is like real. I did live in a cul-de-sac, and this is actually what happened. We probably thought our kids would just do what we did and walk to the piano teacher's house by themselves once a week, or to the ballet conservatory and hang out with their friends at the mall until someone's parents picked them up. And I don't know exactly when this happened, but there are hardly any malls anymore. Like, I don't know where the kids go now. And we can't walk to school because it's not safe. There are not enough sidewalks. In fact, sidewalks have somehow become features of an opulent lifestyle, where housing prices are prohibitive in those very same neighborhoods where the sidewalks are built. And we can't send our kids out to play because the cars speed down our street and we are too afraid. But the good news, told you I'd get to it, is this. There are places where parents can find relief and let their guard down just a little bit, maybe even just for an hour on Sundays, where their central nervous system can find a little equilibrium after holding it all together all week long. And you know, sometimes the preacher preaches the sermon they need the most. And today is one of those times. And I know that the sermon was supposed to be about limitations, which is very difficult for me to talk about. But I still want to tell you about the dream that we've been talking about. This congregation is a place where if everyone can do a little bit, a lot of the time, then we can have all we need and an abundance of what we need. Did you know, central nervous system, speaking of it. Now, did you know that to teach in religious education only requires a commitment of 1 to 2 Sundays per month, and you will not miss this worship service? That happens in the 10 a.m. hour, and I got to tell you that as of today, we are in desperate need of at least 2 more religious education teachers. We have classes of kids who are ready to meet you, to bond with you, to experience a real connection with someone who is not their parent. And these relationships are important. As a parent, nothing makes me feel more supported than seeing someone who is not me delight in knowing my child. It's true. Anyone else? It's like suddenly when you see my child and know their name, I'm not so alone. This is a true gift you can offer to a parent in our congregation today. If you are ready to take this community health crisis seriously and heed our Surgeon General's warning, then I hope you will reach out to Laura Beth Brown, our Director of Religious Education, and let her know that you are ready to step up and help and join an RE teaching team for the rest of this program year. That's just once or twice a month until about April. Yes. Is it weird to talk about participation when I speak of blessing our limits? I'm going to get to it. But first I'm going to keep going. Because too often when we speak of limitations in our society, what we mean is this. We give away all our energy and our life force to our employer. And then we have nothing left for our personal relationships, our health, our precious bodies, our passion for other things beyond our careers, our jobs, fulfilling though they may be. So good job if you found a job that was fulfilling. I did too. But there are other things in life beyond it. And I don't know if you realize it, but you can join the choir if you are not in the choir. You, like you, well, you're in the choir. Okay. If you've never experienced your voice merging with others and soaring together, or nailing a harmony, or the way breathing and singing together with a group can energize you, or can pacify your spirit, or just transform your mood inexplicably, then it is high time for you to feel it, to feel what that's like. Now, the choir rehearses on Wednesday evenings. Sometimes you've worked all day. Sometimes you've spent too much of your day in traffic already. Or it's already dark out and you'd rather just stay home and be cozy. But this is the thing that no one can really tell you. After choir rehearsal, you will feel better. Amen? Where's the choir? Amen. You will feel better about your life. You'll feel better in your body than if you had stayed home and watched TV. Far better than if you just scrolled or zoned out on the internet. Now, some volunteer needs are so important and so minimal. So maybe being a member of the Sunday morning Radical Welcome team will speak to you. And I told Letta Wu very recently, I was going to mention her name. So when Letta Wu serves as a Sunday morning guide, helping folks find their seats and welcoming them in, she said she feels so much more connected to her community. In fact, she said it saves her life. She gets to smile and greet people and be greeted in return. And though Letta's life is as busy as anyone I've ever seen, serving as a Radical Welcome greeter on Sunday mornings, well, it just fills her cup. In fact, it gives her life and saves it too. So, knowing that all these volunteer opportunities are available to us, how do we bless our limitations? It's by doing what we can do and being very honest and loving to ourselves about what that is. This is difficult ministry to offer and to receive, this honesty about our own limitations. But it is human to be limited when in the face of things we cannot control, we are deeply humbled. This is why when someone in our life dies, we often wonder if there is something more we could have done. When so often it is just beyond our control, beyond our capacity. So blessing our limitations means not only acknowledging that we cannot do everything, that it is human to be limited, and so therefore we must rest. But it also means recognizing when we are taking maybe more than our share. Now, I don't know if you have ever experienced like a post-millennial Halloween, but it's too much candy. It's too much candy at Halloween right now. Now, perhaps adults were just meaner in the 80s. I don't know. But we were only ever allowed a single piece of candy at someone's door. Nowadays, we overbuy, and people don't want all that candy in their own home, so they encourage kids to take handfuls. Sorry, kids, this is like mean preacher now. They're like, we thought she was for us. Now, my kids returned from a single night with enough candy to last until the next Halloween. But I saw a video of children encountering an empty candy bowl on Halloween, and many children walked by, like, I guess this house is, over, until one of the children took some of the candy from his own bag and filled up the bowl a little bit. Now, in my hopeful, precious imagination, the next 20 kids brought some of their candy to the bowl until it filled back up again, and there was enough for everyone and in abundance. Because this is how we bless our own limitations and recognize that sometimes we may have more than we need, or we just have enough, and so there is more to spare. And so we must pay attention to moderating our own energy, giving of ourselves until it feels good, and then noticing when it feels like too much, and then receiving until it feels good, and then noticing when it is time to give a little more back to the community. But we must choose, and this is the hard part for me. We cannot do every single thing. And we don't want to disappoint each other. Like, I don't want to disappoint you. I want to say yes, and I try to say yes when I can. But here's the thing about boundaries. I cannot make them for you. You cannot make them for me. They are an act of love and self-preservation we have to set for ourselves. And we can't wait for our spouses to do it for us, or our kids are certainly not going to do it. And even our parents are not going to stop wanting or needing more attention, mom and dad, or more time, more care. Now, I want to share with you a phrase that I learned in seminary that transformed me almost more than anything I learned in that precious time. It's a phrase that one of my professors would use in a spiritual direction, a single credit course, spiritual direction course that he taught. During our prayer, he would gather up all of our woes and our problems and our expressions of suffering or exhaustion or how much we were doing, and he would say, now, you can give it up to God. And when he said that, lifelong atheist, a lightness would come over me. I would feel tension leave my shoulders, and I would remember that there are forces greater than I, and that even my problems are a part of that. Now, long before Jay-Z rapped about 99 problems, a song I reference practically weekly, as the staff will attest, in order to draw a boundary around the things that are not actually plaguing me versus the things that are plaguing me, there was an ancient story from the Buddhist tradition. A person who's a farmer and a father, traveled to see the Buddha to receive counsel and wisdom. The Buddha asked what was plaguing him, and he replied, "I am a farmer," he said, "and usually the fields produce the crops I need, but sometimes there is not enough rain, and I am up all night with worry, wondering if we will have the food we need to survive. And then other times there is too much rain, and I am anxiously worrying if we will have too much water for our crops to survive." "Is that all?" asked the Buddha. "No," said the farmer. "I have a wife, and I love her very much, but sometimes she really frustrates me, and I become tired of her." "Is that all?" said the Buddha. "No, I also have 3 children. They are the lights of my life. I love them, but they do not always show me respect. Sometimes they don't listen to me, and I become very upset. Sometimes they even talk back to me and do things they should not do. It is very upsetting." The farmer went on about all of this and shared all the aspects of his life and the different things that bothered him, his friends, his home, his parents, his pets. And when he had finally exhausted himself, He waited patiently for the Buddha to say the thing that would make all of his problems disappear. Everyone has problems, the Buddha said. In fact, we all have 83 problems, and there is really nothing we can do about it. I mean, maybe if you work very, very hard to fix one of those problems, maybe eventually you can fix it. But another one will pop up in its place to replace it so that you will always continue to have 83 problems. The man became furious. I thought you were a great teacher, he shouted at the Buddha. I thought you could help me with my problems, but you are not offering me anything. Maybe I can help you with the 84th problem, the Buddha replied. What is the 84th problem? Asked the man. The 84th problem is the idea that you should not have any problems, replied the Buddha. It is not possible to live an entire life in perfect Zen nor perfect harmony. All we can do is to continue to learn about our problems, to grow from them, and to realize they are a part of a whole and full life, that maybe the problems in themselves are the blessing. So, knowing that we all have 83 problems, and maybe Jay-Z has 99, what if you cannot give it up to God because your faith does not include a God? Can you give it up to us, your community? Can you find a therapist or a friend who can witness to your life and let them hold it just for a brief time? This is why I think it's important for us to have support groups. I'm trying to start a support group for people going through divorce because I think that's something that we could really use around here. Just something to support each other and to hold each other's problems for a little bit. If there's a support group that you need, I hope you'll let me know and see if we can make it happen. Can you find someone to be real with, to be vulnerable with? Ask them to carry a bit of your load, just for a brief time, maybe even just for an hour on a Sunday. Now, I'll be honest with you. This sermon has been a difficult journey, not only because I struggle with the humility of blessing my own limitations and of connecting my own worthiness to my output, or my own worthiness to others' reliance on me. Like, what if nobody needs me? Am I still worthy? You are enough, just as you are. You are worthy as you are. And me too. Now I have a place I retreat to when life becomes overwhelming, because this is a dance of stepping up, participating, and retreating, and resting. Knowing this retreat is out there is a balm for my soul. It gets me through when I am feeling weary or overwhelmed. My heart lives in Asheville. It's my home. It is my safest place. As somebody who moved around my life, it was not until late adulthood when I realized I had a home. And as I speak to you right now, much of it is underwater still. This crisis has quickly risen to the top of my 83 problems. Now I am in touch with my dear friends there. They are safe and checking in, but they are scared. They are organizing to share food and water because they don't know when they're going to have water again. And in the weeks and the months to come, this sacred ground in the land of the sky will need our help so that we can once again find retreat there if we need it. Retreat is important, to show up, to give what you can, and then to step back. Retreat, giving it up to God, giving it up to community, giving it up to us, give it up to love, and find rest. This is how we sustain one another's lives, so we can all be all right. The parents, the elders too, the children, the neurodivergent, those who are struggling with illness or other challenges, all of us. This is how we seek wholeness, this dance of sharing, giving, receiving. This is how we find that blessing together that is greater than us all. Amen.